I've lived in apartment 4B for 3 years. Same route to work every morning, same coffee mug, same view of the parking lot where Mrs. Chen's Civic has sat with a flat tire for 8 months. Routine is comforting when you've spent most of your adult life afraid that the other shoe will drop. I never thought the shoe would be everything I owned. It was a Tuesday. I remember because Tuesday is trash day, and I'd been hauling a bag of old takeout containers down to the dumpster. The fluorescent lights in the hallway flickered the way they always do. Third one from the elevator is out. Has been for weeks. I fished my keys from my pocket, that worn brass key with the little chip in it that I keep meaning to get duplicated. The lock turned smooth. That should have been my first warning. The lock is always sticky. I have to jiggle it. I pushed the door open. The lights were off. That wasn't unusual. I'm religious about turning them off before I leave. But something felt different. The air, maybe, or the silence. You don't realize how much sound your stuff makes until it's gone. The hum of the refrigerator, the tick of the wall clock, the settling of furniture. I reached for the light switch. Click. Nothing happened. I flipped it again. Up, down, still nothing. Great, I muttered. I've been complaining to the landlord about the wiring for months. Old building, old problems. I pulled out my phone and turned on the flashlight. The beam cut through the darkness and found nothing. I mean that literally. Where my couch should have been, there was empty floor. Where my TV stand should have been, just more bare boards. I swept the light across the room, my hand starting to shake. My armchair gone. My bookshelf gone. The coffee table, the rug, the lamp my sister gave me for Christmas, the poster of Rothko's orange and yellow I'd bought at the museum gift shop, all gone. What the fuck, I said, and my voice came out strange, flat. The room ate the sound and gave nothing back. I stepped inside. The door swung shut behind me with a click that sounded too loud, too final. I spun around and grabbed the handle. It turned. The door was unlocked. I could leave any time I wanted. But I didn't leave. Something kept me there, rooted to the spot just inside the threshold. Maybe it was disbelief. Maybe it was the strange, creeping certainty that if I left and came back, things would be even worse. I moved deeper into the apartment, my phone's flashlight beam sweeping back and forth like a searchlight. The kitchen, empty. Cabinets hung open, their shelves bare. No dishes, no glasses, no half-empty box of cereal. The refrigerator was gone. Not unplugged and moved, gone, leaving only a cleaner square on the linoleum where it had sat. I opened the cabinet under the sink. The trash can was still there. That stopped me cold. Why the trash can? Why leave that and take everything else? My bedroom was the same. No bed, no dresser, no clothes in the closet. The closet door hung open and I shined my light inside. The hanging rod was there. The wire hangers were there, swaying slightly as if someone had just brushed past them. The bathroom, no shower curtain, no towels, no toiletries. But the toilet was there. The sink was there. The medicine cabinet was mounted on the wall, its mirror reflecting my flashlight beam back at me in a sharp, accusatory slash. I stood in the middle of what used to be my living room and tried to make sense of it. Burglary. But who steals furniture and leaves the building fixtures? Who takes books and clothes but leaves trash cans and hangers? That's when I noticed the smell. Or rather, the lack of smell. My apartment always smelled like something: coffee, the vanilla candle I kept in the bathroom, the slightly musty odor of old building that never quite goes away. Now it smelled like nothing. Not clean, not fresh. Just absent. I called out, "Hello." The word died the moment it left my mouth. No echo, no resonance. It was like speaking into a pillow. My heart was hammering now. I pulled up my phone's contact list with shaking fingers and called my landlord. The call wouldn't go through. Not no signal, the bars were fine. It just wouldn't connect. The screen showed it dialing, but there was no ringing, no click, nothing. I tried 911. Same thing. I tried my sister, my boss, my friend Marcus. Nothing. Okay, I said aloud just to hear something. Okay, think. But I couldn't think. The wrongness of it all was too overwhelming. I walked to the window, the one that looks out over the parking lot, and pushed aside the curtain. Except there was no curtain. My hand closed on empty air. And beyond the window, black. Not night black, not the darkness of a cloudy evening or a power outage. This was black, like a wall, like someone had painted the window glass with tar. I pressed my face against it, cupped my hands around my eyes. Nothing. My flashlight beam hit the glass and stopped dead, illuminating nothing beyond. I grabbed the window lock and yanked. It slid open smoothly, another thing that should have stuck and didn't. I pushed the window up. Cold air rushed in, and with it a smell. Wet stone, copper, something organic and rotting, far away but getting closer. I slammed the window shut. My phone buzzed. I nearly dropped it, a text message from unknown number. Don't try to leave. My fingers were ice. I typed back, "Who is this?" The reply came instantly, "You know." I don't know. What happened to my apartment? You did this. I didn't do anything. You invited it in. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold the phone. Invited what in? No response. I waited, staring at the screen until my eyes burned. The message thread just sat there, those three bubbles mocking me. Don't try to leave. You know, you did this. You invited it in. I didn't invite anything. I don't even have people over. The most exciting thing that's happened in this apartment in 6 months was when I ordered Indian food and they gave me extra naan. Unless there was something 2 weeks ago. I'd found a letter in my mailbox, stuck between a utility bill and a grocery store flyer. No stamp, no return address. Just my name written in cramped, spidery handwriting on the envelope. Inside was a single sentence: "What you don't see can't hurt you." I'd thrown it away. Thought it was junk mail or maybe some weird prank. But now, standing in my empty apartment with my breath fogging in air that shouldn't be cold, I remembered it. A sound made me freeze. Faint, distant, coming from somewhere deeper in the apartment, even though I was standing in the middle of it and could see that there was nowhere deeper to go. I held my breath and concentrated. There. A rhythmic noise. Wet, like something breathing but wrong, too slow, too deliberate. Breath in 5 seconds, breath out 5 seconds, perfectly metronomic. It was coming from the bedroom. I didn't want to go in there. Every instinct screamed at me to leave, to run, to get out while the door was still unlocked. But my feet moved anyway, carrying me forward. The flashlight beam juddered across the bare walls. The breathing grew louder. I stood in the bedroom doorway. The room was empty. 4 walls, a floor, a ceiling. The closet door hung open, those wire hangers still swaying gently. The breathing was definitely coming from inside the closet. "Is someone there?" My voice cracked. The breathing stopped. Silence rushed in to fill the space, so complete and total that I could hear my own heartbeat in my ears. I waited. 10 seconds. 20. Then from the darkness of the closet, a whisper, "Look closer." I should have run, I know that now. But fear does strange things to you. It makes you stupid. It makes you need to know, even when knowing might destroy you. I walked to the closet, shined my light inside. Wire hangers, a bare hanging rod, a bare back wall. "Look closer," the whisper came again, and I realized it wasn't coming from the closet. It was coming from everywhere. From the walls, the floor, the air itself. I stepped into the closet, reached out and touched the back wall. My hand went through. Not through a hole or a gap, through the wall itself like it was made of water. Cold rushed up my arm and I yanked it back. My hand was fine, no different, but I could feel the cold spreading, seeping into my bones. Something was on the other side of that wall, something vast. I couldn't see it, couldn't hear it now, but I could feel it, the presence of it, the weight of its attention turning toward me. I backed out of the closet and the sensation lessened. Not gone, but manageable. My phone buzzed again. It knows you're here now. I typed with numb fingers. What does it want? Everything you have, everything you are, that's the price. Price for what? I didn't make any deal. The letter, you read it, that's all it takes. The letter, what you don't see can't hurt you. I'd read it and dismissed it and thrown it away, but I'd read it. How do I fix this? The pause was longer this time. Then, you can't fix it, you can only survive. How? Don't look at it, don't listen to it. Don't let it know what you still have. I don't have anything, it took everything. Not everything, you still have yourself, keep something, anything. One thing it can't take. I looked around the empty apartment. What did I have? My phone, my keys, the clothes I was wearing. No, those were just things. They could be taken. What else? Memories, thoughts, would those count? The breathing started again. Louder now, closer. I turned in a slow circle, trying to pinpoint the source. It seemed to come from every direction at once. The walls, maybe, or underneath the floor. Focus, I told myself. Think of something, one thing to hold on to. I closed my eyes and thought of my sister, Katie. The way she laughs, this snorting, undignified sound that she hates but I love. The time we were kids and she convinced me that dandelions were magic, and we spent all afternoon blowing wishes into the air. The way she always calls me little brother, even though I'm only younger by 11 months. The breathing receded slightly. I opened my eyes. The apartment looked the same, empty, wrong, violated, but the oppressive weight had lifted a fraction. My phone screen showed a new message. Good, hold on to that. How long do I have to stay here? Until it loses interest. How long is that? No response. I tried a different question. Who are you? Someone who survived. Are you still there, still in your apartment? There's no out, only through. That didn't answer my question, but I was starting to understand. Whoever this was, they'd been where I was. Maybe they still were. Maybe there were dozens of us, hundreds, trapped in emptied apartments across the city, the world, trying to hold on to ourselves while something vast and hungry prowled the spaces between spaces. I sat down on the floor, my back against the wall. It was going to be a long night. Time passed strangely. My phone's clock seemed to work. The numbers changed, minutes ticking by, but it didn't feel right. Sometimes 5 minutes would pass in what felt like an hour. Sometimes an hour would vanish in a breath. The breathing continued, sometimes close, sometimes far. I learned not to listen too hard. When I concentrated on it, tried to parse it, it got louder. When I let it fade into the background and thought about Katie instead, it receded. Katie teaching me to ride a bike. Katie braiding flowers into my hair when I was 7. Katie crying on my couch after her divorce, and me not knowing what to say but staying anyway. Every memory was a shield. Every thought of her pushed the thing back. But I was getting tired. Around what my phone claimed was 3 a.m., the whispers started. They came from the walls, barely audible. I couldn't make out words at first, just a sibilant hissing that raised the hair on my neck. I tried to ignore them, to think of Katie, but they grew louder. I see you. Watching. It's so small. And give up. And let go. I pressed my hands over my ears. It didn't help. The whispers weren't external, they were in my head now, sliding through my thoughts like oil. "Stop," I said aloud. The whispers laughed, multiple voices overlapping, creating a sound like wind through dead trees. "You can't keep one memory forever," they said, speaking in unison now. "Every time you think of her, the memory degrades, neurons firing, connections weakening. Eventually, you'll lose the details, the sound of her laugh, the color of the flowers, and then you'll lose the shape of her face, and then her name, and then—" "Shut up," I shouted. Silence crashed down. I was breathing hard, my heart racing. They were right. I knew they were right. Memories fade. That's what memories do. No matter how hard you hold on, time erodes them. But I had more than memories. I had hope. The hope that I'd see Katie again, hear that laugh again, make new memories to replace the ones that faded. Hope was harder to define than a memory, harder to grasp, but it was there, a warm kernel in my chest that the cold couldn't quite reach. I thought about tomorrow, about next week, about calling Katie when this was over and telling her everything, and her believing me because she always believed me, even when I sounded crazy. The whispers started again, angry now, frustrated, but they were quieter. I'd found something they couldn't easily take. My phone buzzed. "Yes, hope works, but be careful, it can burn you up." I didn't understand what that meant until later. The hours dragged on. The darkness beyond the window never changed. The breathing continued its steady rhythm. I stayed on the floor, my back against the wall, cycling through memories and hopes and anything else I could use as armor. Around 6 a.m., if the clock was accurate, I noticed something. The apartment wasn't completely empty anymore. There in the corner where my bookshelf used to be, a book, one book lying on its side on the floor. I got up slowly, my legs cramping from sitting so long, and walked over. It was a paperback copy of The Little Prince. I'd owned this book. It had been on my shelf, but I'd thought it was gone with everything else. I picked it up. The cover was worn, the spine cracked. I'd read it a dozen times, always finding something new. Why was it here now? My phone, it gives back what you don't need, what won't sustain you. I opened the book. The pages were blank. All of them, every single page, clean white paper with no text, no illustrations. Just the ghost of a book, the shell without the substance. I dropped it. The book hit the floor with a sound like breaking glass, and then it was gone. Not disappeared. I watched it dissolve, molecules dispersing into nothing. Fear spiked through me. If it could do that to a book, what could it do to me? "Don't panic," the phone read. "You're stronger than a book. You can think. You can change. You can choose what to hold on to." "I'm tired," I typed back. "I don't know how much longer I can do this." "Sleep if you need to. It can't take you while you sleep, only while you're aware." That seemed backwards. Monsters were supposed to get you while you slept. But nothing about this situation made sense anyway. I lay down on the floor. It was hard and cold, but exhaustion was pulling at me with heavy hands. I thought of Katie one more time, her face clear in my mind, and then I let myself drift. I dreamed of the apartment as it used to be. My couch, my books, my life surrounding me in comfortable clutter. But in the dream, everything was transparent. I could see through the furniture to the darkness underneath, and the darkness was watching. I woke to the sound of scratching. The light from my phone had dimmed, battery at 23%. How long had I been asleep? The clock said 2 p.m., but that meant nothing here. The scratching was coming from the walls, not mice. This was deliberate, purposeful, like fingernails on wood drawing patterns. I got up and pressed my ear to the wall. The scratching stopped. Then something pressed back from the other side. I jerked away. The wall bulged outward where the pressure came from, the paint cracking in a spiderweb pattern. For a moment, I could see the outline of a hand, too large, too many fingers. Then it pulled back and the wall was flat again. It's getting impatient, my phone said. What happens if it gets in? It doesn't need to get in. It's already here. It's been here the whole time. The apartment, the darkness, the breathing, all of it. You're inside it. I felt sick. Then what's the point? If I'm already inside it, if it already has me. You have to let it process you. Like food. As long as you're still yourself, you're indigestible. When you give up, when you let go of everything that makes you you, then it can absorb you. Then you're gone. How long does it usually take? For most people, hours. You lasted through the night. You're strong. I don't feel strong. I feel terrified. Good. Fear is something. Fear means you still want to live. I walked to the window again. Still black. But when I looked closely, I could see things moving in the darkness. Shapes without form, swimming through the void like deep-sea creatures. One of them turned toward the window. I saw its eye, a vast, luminous thing, pupil dilating as it focused on me. Intelligence looked back at me. Ancient, patient, hungry intelligence. I stumbled backward and it was gone, or maybe it had never been there. Maybe I was starting to break down, to see things that weren't real. Or maybe I was finally seeing what had always been there. My phone was buzzing insistently. I looked down. Don't look at it. Don't look directly at it. You looked at it, didn't you? I saw an eye, I typed. How big? Huge, the size of the window, maybe bigger. That was a small one. What? The ones you can see are the small ones. The big one doesn't have eyes. It doesn't need them. I wanted to ask more, but my phone chose that moment to buzz with a low battery warning. 15% left. When the phone died, I'd lose my only connection to whoever was helping me. The thought filled me with panic. Battery dying, I typed. What do I do when it's gone? Remember what you chose to keep. Remember why you chose it. The phone was never the important part. You are. The battery ticked down to 14%. Thank you, I typed, for helping me. We help each other. That's how some of us survive. When you get out, if you get out, help the next one. How will I know? Y'all know. Y'all see the letter in their mailbox and y'all understand. The phone dimmed to 10%. I had so many questions, but there was only one that really mattered. Does anyone actually get out? The response took a long time. The battery dropped to 8%, then 7%. Finally, I don't know, I hope so. That's what I hold on to. Hope that somewhere someone made it through and they're living their life and they remember this like a bad dream. That's my hope. Maybe it can be yours too. 6%. 5%. Good luck, the message said. 4%. You too, I typed back. 3%. The screen went dark. I was alone. The apartment seemed to press in around me, the walls closer than before. Or maybe that was my imagination. Maybe I was just feeling the weight of isolation. I sat back down and closed my eyes. Katie, I thought of Katie. Her laugh, her smile, the way she says my name. I thought of hope. Hope that I'd see her again. Hope that this would end. Hope that somewhere beyond this darkness there was still a world with sunlight and coffee shops and flat tires that never got fixed. The breathing grew louder. I didn't open my eyes. The whispers started again, closer now, more insistent. I didn't listen. Something touched my shoulder, cold, wrong, too many joints. I didn't look. I just held on to hope and thought of my sister and waited. Time passed, hours maybe, days. The darkness was absolute now, even with my eyes open. My phone was dead weight in my pocket. But I was still myself. Still me. And gradually, so slowly I almost didn't notice, the pressure began to ease. The breathing grew fainter. The whispers receded. The cold touch withdrew. When I finally opened my eyes, pale light was seeping under the door, not the fluorescent hallway light, something else, something that looked almost like dawn. I stood up. My legs shook. How long had I been sitting there? My watch was gone, must have slipped off at some point, but my body said it had been a very long time. I walked to the door, put my hand on the knob. It turned. I stepped out into the hallway. The fluorescent lights were on, third one from the elevator still out. Mrs. Chen's Civic sat in the parking lot below, tire still flat. Everything exactly as it should be. My apartment door swung shut behind me. I didn't look back. I walked to the elevator on unsteady legs, rode it down to the lobby, and stepped out into a morning that felt like resurrection. My apartment key is still on my keyring. I haven't been back. I moved out that day, told the landlord I had a family emergency, lost the security deposit, didn't care. I'm staying with Katie now, sleeping on her couch, and every morning when I wake up I hear her in the kitchen making coffee, and I could cry with relief. She asks me sometimes what happened, why I left so suddenly, why I look over my shoulder, why I never want to be in the dark. I don't know how to explain. I don't think I could make her understand without sounding insane. But yesterday I was getting her mail. She asked me to grab it while she was at work, and I saw it. An envelope in her neighbor's mailbox. No stamp, no return address, just a name in cramped, spidery handwriting. I stood there for a long time, staring at it. Then I took it. The neighbor, young guy mid-20s, seems nice, came out while I was standing there. "Hey," he said, "you're Katie's brother, right?" "Yeah," I managed. "Cool, hey, is that my mail?" I looked down at the letter in my hand. I could give it to him, let him read it, let the cycle continue. Or I could lie, tell him it was delivered to the wrong box, throw it away unseen, unread. If he never reads it, maybe it can't get him. "Actually," I said, "I think this is junk mail. I'll toss it for you." He shrugged, "Thanks, man." He went back inside. I burned the letter in Katie's sink and washed the ashes down the drain. I don't know if that's enough. I don't know if there will be another letter, another invitation. But I remember what the messages told me. When you get out, help the next one. So that's what I'm doing. If you find a letter in your mailbox with no stamp and no return address, don't read it. Don't even open it. Burn it, tear it up, throw it in the trash. I don't care. Just don't read the words. Because once you invite it in, once you give it permission, the only thing between you and the dark is whatever piece of yourself you can hold on to. And most people can't hold on long enough.